is light of any lamp.
Hello, all you punctual souls, and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Welcome to Light of Any Lamp. Today's hot take: you're not too judgy, you're just too judgy about being judgy. So, I don't have a conclusion and punchline to this one, but I would like to add some nuance and some details to the idea that people in general, or our society at least, are too judgmental and too judgy, and to be maybe a little too brief on this. In some way, that's obviously true. On the other hand, which is the hand I'm going to talk about more since it's the hand I think that is talked about less often, is in some ways, I think we're totally fine on this front in some ways, and if anything, we could be more judgmental. Now, one way to think about this, especially if your fur just got rubbed the wrong way, is instead of the idea of being judgmental, how about discerning? But to distinguish between what is right and wrong, between what is helpful or harmful to friends and family, or even society at large, what would be better and worse habits to cultivate. These are things I'm actually quite happy for people to be judgmental about, to be discerning about. It's something I want for myself, it's something I want for you, it's something I want for my children and the population in general. So one way we could think about this is the idea of just splitting these terms between judgmental and discerning to be a little bit more particular. Another aspect of this, which is almost comical depending on how long you want to take it, is say you do something and then I'm awful and I judge you for it. And then you're upset at me for judging you, which is clearly itself a judgment, and then I'm obviously bothered by you judging me, and you just get a horrible catch-22. At the root of this, though, if there is something about judgment that bothers you, that you don't like and want people to stop doing, it is darn hard to figure out how to express that, if not just feel that internally, without then again doing it yourself. And you will by and large end up caught in a loop of judgment. A last aspect to throw out is just the relative weight of this, which I mostly put forward as something self-reflective. Again, I don't have an answer here. But say my friend, we'll go Caleb, has been driving around town, speeding, and high on cocaine, and then I judge him for it. So let's say that we've both made errors, and I shouldn't be judgmental, and he shouldn't be driving with cocaine in his system. Do we want to say these are equal faults? That these are equally problematic? Now, in real life, these are not mutually exclusive, that you have to pick one and leave the other one, but let's say, as a theoretical, you lived in a city with 1,000 people that were just too judgy of cocaine users, or 1,000 people that were cocaine users who would drive around town. For you individually, subjectively, no philosophical syllogism here to tell you you're wrong, but which city would you opt for, if you had to pick? Are these equivalent to you? So let me offer this out, put it out on the little buffet table here for your contemplation and perusal on what I think might actually be going on here. Or maybe a more detailed and nuanced way of looking at this. I am not at all sure that as a society we are too judgy. What I do think is maybe more fair, if not more accurate, to say we're not very forgiving with each other as far as being understanding and empathetic and compassionate towards people's shortcoming, of being forgiving, ideally instantly forgiving in the vast majority, if not all cases. Having a lack of that, a dearth of those qualities, that feels like more what I see as where we're suffering or where we're lacking as a society. It's not the existence of judgment, it's a lack of forgiveness and mercy for each other. And at risk of being a little cliche and ending up being quoted on a nice scented candle, it's a lack of love that's actually the problem, not the existence of judgment or discernment by itself. To put this in parental context, obviously to some degree you should be judgmental of your child's behavior. The habits and speech and actions of your children. They matter, and you're somewhat responsible, pending age, for cultivating the good and trying to weed out the bad, however that happens for you. The only point I want to make is that, although that's true, there is definitely a problem if that is happening in absence of love, in absence of warmth, in absence of any positive aspects. And there's some, I think at least good, proper way to think about this, at least as a starting point, that the problem is one should never outstrip the other. You should never be harsher or more judgmental or more critical, I will say at least on the child front, than you are loving, warm, and encouraging towards them, because there is something damaging at that point. And again, not as a conclusion to this topic or thought, but I think there's a fairly healthy starting point there, that although judgment is at least necessary, if not good in a social sense, I think its existence in absence of warmth, in absence of friendliness, in absence of compassion, empathy, forgiveness, is definitely problematic. And for me, that more seems to be the error made. And although person to person, I think we do have a responsibility to try to develop ourselves, to weed out bad habits and cultivate good ones, to become masterful at our strengths, and to develop our weaknesses. There are 1,000 ways that any of us could do that. And the idea that someone else gets to decide which ones you work on is a problem. That you should be working on some aspect of your character as a general hope just because you're another human being, I think is quite accurate if only natural. There are lots of things, very worthwhile things, that you could be putting your time and energy into. And just to speak of this subjectively and personally, I hope people would want me to do that and continue to develop. If I'm showing up at work on Monday, so to speak, and someone asks me how my weekend was, and I said it was filled with prostitutes and drugs, I hope they would be sad, or shocked, or want better for me. The idea that a coworker gets to decide exactly what skills, knowledge, attributes, perfections, and habits I work on, that's different. There's 1,000 ways to improve, and you are the one that gets to decide the vast majority of the time which those are. So after leaving you with hopefully worthwhile thoughts, I'm going to leave you with 2 quotes, both from the Baha'i Faith. If a man has 10 good qualities and 1 bad, look at the 10 and forget the 1. And if a man has 10 bad qualities and 1 good one, look at the 1 and forget the 10. Let your heart burn with loving kindness for all who may cross your path. That's all for now. See you next time, and we'll see how this goes.